Hi all, welcome back to my channel. This is Jisha from Sweet Trends. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful cake pops. The first one is covered in fondant and the second one is covered in chocolate. Let's get started. To make cake pops, we need to make a dough with cake crumbs and frosting. I had some leftover strawberry cake and some American buttercream, which are what I'm using. Crumble up the cake using your hand so that there are no big lumps, and then add the buttercream little by little. The amount of buttercream depends upon the texture of the cake. If it is really moist, you need less amount of buttercream. The frosting acts as a binding agent. We need to add just enough so that the dough will hold the shape. Too much buttercream will make it pasty and the cake pops will break off. If we accidentally added too much, we need to balance it off with more cake crumbs. Divide the cake dough into equal size balls. I kind of eyeballed here, but we can use a cookie scoop or a weighing scale to get equal portion. Using the fingers and palm of the hand, shape them like a teardrop shape like that so that it looks like a tulip bud. Repeat the process for all the cake balls, and once completed, we can put this in the fridge while we are preparing the next steps. Next step is to prepare the tulip stems. I'm using paper-based popsicle sticks here. We get to buy this in any craft store. I'm going for a lemon green, so I'm using 2 drops of green food color and 1 drop of yellow food color. And I've thinned it out using a few drops of vodka. Paint the popsicle stick using a brush on a parchment paper. Parchment paper makes it easier to clean up. Dab off the extra color using the kitchen towel and leave the popsicle sticks to dry off. Now we need to melt some chocolate to cover the cake pops. I've taken about a cup of white candy melt. Melt this in microwave in burst of 30 seconds and stirring it in between. I usually buy white chocolate and color it to the shade I want, but if we know in advance any specific color the cake pop has to be, we can buy the candy melts in that particular color and skip the chocolate coloring part altogether. Here I'm using few drops of orange food color to get that light peach shade for the tulips. We need to use oil-based food color when coloring chocolate. To attach the popsicle sticks to the cake balls, dip it in the melted chocolate and insert into the cake balls about an inch deep. Repeat the same for all the cake balls. We need to put this in the freezer 5 to 10 minutes to harden. Add few drops of vegetable oil to thin the melted chocolate, and I've transferred this into a tall glass. This gives more depth to dip the cake pops and to get an even coating. Gently swirl to remove the excess chocolate and set it on a plate with parchment paper. And repeat the same process for all the cake pops and put this in the freezer. For the fondant covered cake pops, color the fondant and roll it into a thin sheet. I'm using some leftover homemade marshmallow fondant. I got these tulip cutters from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. Cut out a bunch of small and big petals using the cutters. We need to thin the edges of the small petals. For that, we can use a Ziploc bag. Cut the sides so it opens like this. Put the small petal inside the Ziploc bag and gently apply pressure along the edges to thin it out like this. This is another way to make tulip petals without a cutter. Now take the cake pops from the freezer and trim off the excess chocolate and smoothen the ridges. We need to put 3 small petals as an inner layer. Overlap one petal over the other. It is okay if there is gap in the bottom. It will be covered by the second layer of petals. The cake pops had some condensation water, so the fondant attached to it directly. If the fondant is not sticking, you can apply some water and attach the petals to the chocolate. For the second layer, I am using the silicone mold to create the petal texture. It came with the tulip cutter that I ordered from Amazon. Take a big petal and coat it with some sugar to prevent sticking. Place it between the molds and gently press it to create the texture. Gently remove the petal from the mold and attach it to the cake pop. We need 4 big petals for the outer layer. Apply from the bottom in between the petals of the first layer. Apply some water and gently press the bottom and center of the petals. Do not apply too much pressure, otherwise the texture would be smudged and lost. This is petal number 2 of the second layer. Follow the same steps as for the petal number 1. And that's petal number 3 of the second layer. Slightly overlap with the previous petal. Number of inner layer petals and outer layer will depend upon the size of the cake pop. This is the 4th petal of the last layer. So the idea here is to cover the top using a small petal layer and cover the bottom using a second layer of big petals. Both the layers should show up from the top, but none of the chocolate portion should be visible. For the chocolate covered cake pops, we need to apply multiple layers of chocolate onto the cake pop using a flat-edged spatula like this. The edge of the spatula will create a petal-like indentation. Go for multiple passes until the desired shape of the petals are formed. I think I did 3 rounds. We can set these up like a flower arrangement. I have used some fresh tulip leaves from my garden. With a damp paintbrush, we can brush off the excess powdered sugar. This will give a good shine to the cake pops as well. So that's how to make tulip cake pops 2 ways. I made this for our wedding anniversary last week and it was very delicious. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Please let me know your comments. As usual, please like, share and subscribe. I hope to see you with another one soon. Thank you.